And let's check in with him.
Looks like he's not ready.
Would you like to come? No, that's okay. You sure? Okay.
All right. That's right, Laura. We are just about to get underway.
Thank you, each and everyone, for being here today. I appreciate it. This is the 11:15 press briefing, which is being held at 11:30. Sorry for the slight delay, but we were getting some additional information from emergency managers across the community. Once again, Winter Storm Life continues. It is moving north again, and it is severe. We're going to get into the weather in a little bit, but first I want to remind everybody a state of emergency still exists in Erie County, and it is driving bans exist in the following communities. And this I have to reiterate. I've been reiterating it over and over and over, but I have to reiterate it. Driving bans exist in all of these communities, and people are still going out on the roads and getting stuck. Even though police are now doing all that they can to keep people off the roads, including blocking access to roads and ticketing individuals. So as it pertains to the county, the city of Buffalo, south of Genesee Street, the city of Lackawanna, the following towns: Elma, Marilla, Orchard Park, West Seneca, Lancaster, Cheektowaga, Hamburg, Alden, Aurora, Boston, Eden, as added yesterday, Brant, and as was recently added based on the request from supervisors in towns, the town of Wales and the town of Colvin. State of emergencies in all those towns, as well as driving bans. In the following villages: Lancaster, Hamburg, Blaisdell, Depew, Sloan, Alden, East Aurora, and as was just recently added at the request of the mayor, of the village of North Collins. So the village of North Collins was just added to the list and is included in the state of emergency as well as driving ban, because of course the storm moved down south, and now the heavy snow, it's falling at a rate of up to 3 inches per hour, is falling in these newer communities as well. To get into the weather, we just recently had briefing number 9 from the National Weather Service. I want to commend the individuals at the National Weather Service who have been basically working nonstop, and I really appreciate their assistance, led by their chief individual at the Buffalo office, Judy Levan. The storm is moving back into the impacted area as we speak. It is moving north. Snow is falling at a rate of 3 inches per hour and may continue to move at a rate of 3 inches per hour. The band is moving and should move another 5 miles to the north before noon, in the following towns, which may not actually be getting snow yet, will be getting snow fairly soon. Towns including Hamburg, Orchard Park, Elma, and West Seneca. We'll begin to see more continuous snow. Then further, it will continue. I don't have a timeline on it like we do with the other ones, but the expectation is the city of Lackawanna, the town of Lancaster, Cheektowaga, Alden will also be in the snow ban. At this point, it is not necessarily certain whether the ban will reach to South Buffalo, but it is expected that Lackawanna, Alden, Lancaster, Cheektowaga, those areas which were previously impacted, will see additional snow. There will be near zero visibility, especially if you're on a north-south road, because of the wind speed. It is cold outside. I was just outside. It is cold outside. And with the winds picking up, it is possible that wind chills will drop to the single digits near zero again. So I want to reiterate, this is a significant storm. This has been a bad storm. Unfortunately, it's been a killer storm in which 8 members of our Western New York community are no longer with us. It is 8, right? I just want people to take it very seriously. As you know, I was actually out, and we had the briefing with the governor. Afterwards, we did a tour of some impacted areas nearby, including what was the Dave's Christmas World warehouse in the town of Cheektowaga off Union Road. The back of his facility completely collapsed. We now have heard of a collapse of a building in the town of Hamburg, a garage. So that had collapsed with vehicles inside. We also are hearing of issues associated with potential building collapses. When we were at the warehouse in Cheektowaga, we had received a previous request from the owner of Garden Gate facility on Union Road to review, because they were very worried. They had so much snow on there with the additional snow. The governor ordered New York State fire personnel who were at the scene with regards to the building collapse of the Dave's Christmas World to immediately do an assessment of the building next door, which is the Garden Gate facility. And if it appeared that there were significant issues that they were worried about, they were immediately going to enable the National Guard to get in there and try to clean it up as soon as possible. So we are aware of particular issues. We know there are businesses that are worried about the roofs. If you have a warehouse that you're worried about your roof, you can request it, but get your folks out of there. Most important thing, get your folks out of there. Make sure there's nobody in the building. Our number one priority, as the governor said earlier today, was dealing with health and lives. We worry about property damage, but property damage is property damage. You cannot replace a life. So it is important, if you are in a facility that you are worried about the potential roof, that you contact officials. If you can get a structural engineer down there, you have a structural engineer down there as soon as you can. But if you have people in the facility, get them out. Nursing homes are a different story, so we have to prioritize those, and those get done first. So we are moved along in that situation, and I feel very comfortable that New York State Fire is doing an adequate assessment, and will make a determination with regards to that one facility. I know there are other facilities that have contacted us, and we are trying to prioritize those and get them in the queue so we can have trained professionals do an assessment as necessary. At this time, I want to turn it over to the incident commander of this current time period, our Deputy Commissioner for Emergency Services, Greg Butcher, who can give you an update on what is happening with the emergency service response and some of the other things that we're doing to prepare for what inevitably will be the next phase associated with Winter Storm Knife. Greg?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just a brief update on what's happening. All of our crews continue to still work at snow removal in all of the affected communities, and we'd like to continue to remind everyone that their unnecessary travel is asked not to occur and frowned upon. While there are driving bans, we know that there are still people out there, and we don't want it to continue to hamper the snow removal that's going on. One of the big issues are that we need to keep those roads open specifically for the snow removal equipment, and that way we can continue to effectively move farther into the communities areas that are not seeing the removal equipment. We also want to continue to thank our first responders, firefighters, EMS personnel, law enforcement, all coming from outside of our area, from the unaffected counties around us, as well as other parts of the state, in addition to the National Guard. All of those people are working diligently to assist us. It's wonderful to know that they can be here. One of the other things we've noticed continue to happen is, with the increased amount of snow load on buildings, we have some serious issues with regard to structural collapse potential. As you heard the county executive mention, we've seen some significantly large structures already collapse, and that potential still exists. We've seen it also in some of the mobile home parks across the county. So we want everyone to be cognizant of that. They need to remember that if they suspect something, they should still continue to use their local system. The countywide EOC is here to support those local systems. They should not circumvent their local 911, their local police, or their local fire departments. They are still in place. We are augmenting them, but they are still running their operations. One of the things that we do with regard to these large-scale incidents is we use a system called D-Land. It's disaster land. You may have heard it used earlier, and I felt this was a good opportunity to make the public aware that we have a process in which we deal with this. It's a management system for running disasters. We use it extensively, as does the state of New York also use the same system. You may hear us mention that people need to use that and communities need to use that. That's why we encourage the local authorities having jurisdictions, such as supervisors, mayors of either villages or cities, to keep in direct contact with their emergency managers who can access that system. And that is how we facilitate these requests for assets. The days of writing it on a scrap piece of paper are long gone, and this helps keep us efficient with managing this. Now, when it comes to managing this, as everyone is aware, we're expecting warmer weather, and with that, this amount of snow will continue to melt and create a potential for another problem, and that is potential flooding. We've taken the opportunity to spin up not only a command group, but a planning and logistics section to address this. They are going to be running parallel to what we're doing here, and we the reason why we mention it is because we want the community to be reassured that we are addressing the future potential for incidents related to this. They'll be subsequent to the meltdown. We have those people in place, and we are bringing additional resources in to aid them in that particular action. And that's where we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. I just earlier, well, actually last night, the governor and I spoke. The governor was here during our emergency manager call, and he reassured everyone that they were working to get adequate pumps, and the pumps are being delivered from the various departments that the state has, and they'll be on standby at a staging area in what will in all likelihood be a strong meltdown with potential for flooding. So the pumps are already being delivered. I do want to note that the structural damage is not just with nursing homes. Last night in the town of West Seneca, we had an urgent call with regards to a mobile home park, in which it's my understanding 10 mobile homes were evacuated, some with partial collapses already. So this is a significant issue. Mobile homes, they are significantly at risk because they're not truthfully made to handle this type of weight. I want to note that State Senator Pat Galvin, our former sheriff, is here, and I know he's gone through these situations before, especially as sheriff, so I want to thank you for your attendance. And with that, I want to turn it over to the current undersheriff, Mark Whipperman, who can let you know what the sheriff's office is dealing with at this point.
Thank you, County Executive. Okay, I'd like to start with we called in all of our available manpower, deputies and supervisors. And for those who were snowed in, they walked to ends of streets or we got to a thoroughfare where we could pick them up. And we are being assisted currently by our counterparts and friends in surrounding counties, other agencies, too many to mention by name. In the last 24 to 36 hours, the Sheriff's Office has done over 100 transports for dialysis. We continue to pick up and drop off nurses and doctors. We can continue to assist our friends in highway, blocking roads so that they can remove the snow as quickly as possible and not get affected by motorists who are not obeying the parking ban. I do want to say before I got into this room, I checked with our dispatch. We had 8 active calls that we are currently en route to. 5 are welfare checks, and this is what we're starting to get. We're getting calls from family members who can't get in touch with their loved ones who are obeying the driving ban and not driving out to find them or see if they're okay. That's fine. We will take those calls. That's our job. What we do need is patience. If you haven't heard from your loved one and you're concerned about them, certainly call 911. If it's in our jurisdiction, we will go, and if we have to walk into the subdivision, we'll walk. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure that we check their welfare. And then we have 3 vehicles off the road in areas where there's driving bans. And that's very upsetting because we have to pull much needed resources and personnel away from their duties, and we have to go check the safety and welfare of these individuals who are very selfish, who decided not to pay attention to the driving ban, who are in ditches. With that being said, I know this community, the million-dollar question, especially for those living in smaller streets, secondaries, is when am I going to see a snowplow? My phone's blowing up for my family and my friends, and the message is simple: as soon as we can. What we do need is cooperation. If you could stay off the streets and allow highway and the private contractors to get the main roads done, we will get to you. We just need cooperation. I can't emphasize, I know the county executive has been beating home this message, how hard it is with people not obeying the driving bans and driving into roadways where the crews are trying to clear them. It slows the process down and only delays our goal of getting into the secondary streets and the smaller communities and getting you a plow and getting your street opened up.
Okay. Thank you, Undersheriff. We know there's been 8 deaths in the community, and there are always worries, especially as the snow ban moves back in, on future fatalities. We want to assure folks that if they don't need to get out, they shouldn't be out. And I'd like to turn over to Dr. Burstein to talk a little bit more about the recent passing, as well as offer words of wisdom. Doc?
Thank you. Thank you. Morning. So as our county executive mentioned, this has been a killer storm. We've had 8 deaths in our community, and most of them have been preventable. The last one was a 60-year-old man in Cheektowaga who was trying to get his snowblower out of the shed and had to do some heavy lifting, and he had known cardiovascular disease, and unfortunately he succumbed to a fatal cardiac event through the additional exertion of the cold and through lifting. So I just really want to caution Erie County residents, please, especially if you have any known cardiac illness, including blood pressure, including if you are well managed on your medication, please do not go outside to try to clear your driveway. First of all, in the affected areas, there's a driving ban. There's nowhere to go anyway. And secondly of all, it just really puts you at risk. The additional exertion of trying to stay warm in the cold temperatures and then trying to do heavy lifting of machinery or of the snow, which is very heavy, it's just not worth it. It's there again. There's nowhere to go. I mean, you have people that depend on you, and if you become ill with a heart attack and die, I mean, you're not there to help out. So really, don't be selfish. The driveway can wait. If you're really itching to get it clean, I'm sure that all the kids who are out of school would love to pick up the slack and earn a few extra dollars to clear your driveway. Also, I have some good news about the hospitals. They are able to get their staff in. We're working with them, with emergency services, to try to help them get in some staff from the affected areas. But all the hospitals said that they're holding their own with staffing. They are able to turn around beds. Some hospitals are not able to send their discharged patients home because of where the patients reside. It's just unpassable. So they're keeping them in a hospital, sometimes in kind of like a little, they call it a hotel holding center. So if you're anxious that you have a loved one who is in the hospital and discharged and can't get home, again, we're all working on it together to try to get everybody to the place that they need and the care that they need. The emergency departments are open. Again, they haven't seen unusual numbers of storm-related injuries or traumas, including frostbite. So that's all good news. So again, I just want to remind Erie County residents, stay inside. There's no reason to go outside. There's no reason to drive in affected areas. If your kids want to go outside and run around, that's great. Good to have exercise, but make sure that they're bundled. Again, kids love to run outside in hoodies regardless of what the weather is. So make sure they're wearing hats and gloves and appropriate boots, because hands and feet get cold very quickly, and kids may not realize that when they're running around and they're distracted by having fun. So it's really up to us to make sure that they stay warm and they stay safe. So again, stay indoors, plenty of things to do, and just stay safe. So thank you.
Thank you, Doc. We've been getting reports from individuals who are running low on prescription drugs and the like. If you are to call 911. We will do our best to ensure that what your needs are met. If you have a neighbor, please check up on the neighbor, especially a senior. This is the 3rd day in a row in which Meals on Wheels will not be delivering, is not delivering. So if you have a senior who's a neighbor, please check up on them. I know that some people don't always think about that. They think, well, my neighbors are sitting inside warm, but your neighbor may be sitting inside warm but not have someone else to actually talk to or get to there. So if you could, all our neighbors, we ask you to check on neighbors, especially seniors or those that you know have medical conditions that might require additional prescriptions. Because the snow is coming back and we're talking about another 2 to 3 feet, as we've talked about before, if you have a natural gas furnace that has the vents on the side of the house, the new high efficiency ones, please check on those. If you have a senior that has one of those but can't get out, please check on it. Those need to be cleaned. You need to have a proper airflow. And if snow gets up to there and backs them up, the carbon monoxide has nowhere to go but back in the house. So please check on your high efficiency natural gas furnace vents on the outside of your home. It is a very difficult situation, and we don't want to hear about deaths related to carbon monoxide, which thankfully we haven't heard. At this time, I want to turn it over to our Commissioner of Public Works, John Lafredo, and the department's head of engineering, Charlie Sickler, to give you an idea on what's been going on with the roads. I do feel very good about most of the main roads that are county roads and state roads in all of the municipalities. There are some that are still maybe only down to one lane, but I feel like we can get emergency vehicles through those roads. That does not mean that we're going to be able to do every secondary road and get into residential roads. As the undersheriff said, I understand it is an inconvenience. We were just going.
Yeah, and you've been listening in, yeah,
the
to a live
throughway
news
right
conference.
now that Mark Poloncarz was just talking about.
Yeah, you've been listening to that live news conference, them talking about the response, this countywide response. We heard also from Dr. Carol Burstein warning people with heart conditions, the elderly, not to step out. I think we've got our live feedback. We're going to listen back in.
It's probably because the secondary road, which leads to the suburb, hasn't been done, and it's not because we're ignoring it. We have hundreds and hundreds of people out there. We've hired private contractors. We have the National Guard. There's a lot of work that's being done, and we'll continue. But I want to let John and Charlie give an opportunity to let you know the latest and any issues.
Thank you, County Executive. Just echoing what was said before, it's very important to observe the traffic bans on these roads. It's much easier to keep a road open than to try a road that is closed. So if you have traffic in that area and they get stuck and those roads are closed again, it takes a great deal of effort to reopen it. So we don't want to go backwards here, so observe the travel bans. As far as the flooding goes, there's a couple good things and a couple bad things. The good thing is the ground isn't frozen. There's no ice in the stream. The bad thing is there's 6 feet of snow that has to melt, which is 6 inches of rain, equivalent to 6 inches of rain. The good thing is it'll probably melt over maybe a couple of days, which is good. So what we're looking at is really an unknown as far as flooding goes. We've never experienced this before. So the message is stay off the roads, observe the traffic bans, and we'll see what happens from here on in. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'd like to conclude by thanking each and every one of the emergency service personnel, the Department of Public Works, the law enforcement, the volunteer fire, the professional fire, paid fire units in the city of Buffalo and city of Lackawanna, as well as the numerous folks who've come from outside the impacted areas to help. There's reason why they call people public servants. And this is a perfect example because they are serving the public. I know a lot of people are inconvenienced who are sitting at home and waiting, and there's a lot of families that are inconvenienced. I want to thank each and every one of the people who've been working very hard on behalf of our community, whether they're in county government, local government, state government, from outside the area, as I said, volunteers. The effort that is being made is tremendous. Most of these individuals have had very little sleep. I think I was calculating I've had a total of 12 hours sleep since I woke up on Monday morning, and I think each and every one of these people standing here can probably say the same thing, or maybe even less. I know he can. Please cut some slack for a lot of these folks. They're working their butts off to deal with this issue. They will continue to work their butts off to deal with this issue. And when you see someone in the public service who's working their butts off, thank them. It makes a big difference. Open it up to questions right now.
Did you talk with the Bills executive staff about the very real possibility with them that the game's going to be postponed because it's just too much to overcome?
We have been in communication with representatives of the Buffalo Bills. Actually, Russ Brandon and I have been texting back and forth. He fully understands the issues that we're dealing with. And as I said earlier at the Thruway Barns, at this moment, I cannot commit to having any emergency services, and I talked with the sheriff's personnel to hold a football game on Sunday. Maybe we will be able to do that tomorrow. Maybe we'll be able to commit on that Saturday. With the threat of flooding and the need potentially for sheriffs to be, who knows, rescuing people from flooded areas. I hope it's not that bad. We don't think it's going to be like that. We think there's going to be a lot of area standing water, but not the floods that you often see. But we don't know. So at this moment, I cannot commit to putting emergency service personnel, Department of Public Works personnel who normally work at the facility on game day, and talking over with the undersheriff, sheriff's deputies for a football game. This is a storm that has taken 8 lives. We hope it will not take another one. It might. And I just can't commit to it.
With
with that statement, do you think or hope maybe that that's really going to be what pushes them to decide to move it or do something else, not play Sunday?
I think so. And if I'm the one who's responsible for the Bills not playing at Ralph Wilson Stadium on Sunday, I can live with that. Important things need to be addressed. If I made a decision that says, no, I can commit to people there, and they played, and I couldn't, and as a result, we needed to rescue individuals or do additional work, then I couldn't live with myself. I can live with knowing that the Bills-Jets game, which I was supposed to go to, is not being played. I can live with that.
I know at the last press conference with the governor, it was said that don't believe there are any more stranded or people stranded in vehicles out there, but we actually just got a call to our newsroom, I guess, somebody saying that they're stranded in their vehicle in Lancaster. What should we tell those people? Who do they need to contact? I know you guys are still doing a very...
Well, if you have their name and their location, please give it to the undersheriff.
Yeah, we will.
What we've been reiterating all along is you need to call 911. I don't know if people are doing that, but I hope they are. If you're calling 911, especially from a cell phone, it'll be routed in Erie County through the E911 call center at the public safety campus downtown, which has been manned 100% since the beginning of this storm. It's not like we're short on call takers. We have professionals manning the system. That then is transferred to the locality of where the incident is. So let's give you an example. If this person is in Lancaster, the call from a cell phone would go into the system, immediately be received at the E911 call center. It's a system that goes through Verizon landline system. The caller will then take the information and transfer that to the town of Lancaster. And the town of Lancaster at that point would be responsible. If it's a community where there is no town police force, it of course is immediately transferred to the sheriff's office. So I think town of Elma doesn't have a police force, correct?
Correct. We would take
Correct.
the call.
So if it's town of Elma, it goes to the Erie County Sheriff's Office. And then sheriff's responsible for that call. So I said, to our knowledge, and I think the governor said, to our knowledge, there were not people stranded. We know there's nobody stranded on the thruway other than the truckers who want to be there in their truck. I was asked yesterday, can you guarantee there's no person stranded in a vehicle? And I said, I cannot make that guarantee because I don't know. We only know based on the information that we have here. As Greg noted, the EOC is in some ways a clearinghouse of information when it comes to what's going out to the towns. We receive information, we work with the communities, we provide information back, but if we're not receiving the information at our EOC through the D-line system, we don't know what the needs are in a community. If somebody's not calling 911, we won't know they're there. I said, I think the first day of the storm, if you are stuck on the side of the road, your first call should not be to a tow truck company, it should be to 911, because then you're put into the system. They'll be able to actually triangulate through cell towers your location to within approximately less than a quarter of a mile, so they'll know where you are. And that's actually how they were able to identify where the unfortunate incident where the gentleman died in his vehicle was by triangulating through his prior cell phone calls and his cell actually giving off the ping. That's how they were able to do it. So if you are stuck in a vehicle still, and if you are, I'm very sorry, especially if you've been there for the whole storm. If you are driving and drove today and got stuck in a vehicle in communities you shouldn't be driving, we'll get to you. As the undersheriff said, there are people who now in their vehicle and they have to pull and tow the vehicle, but you shouldn't be driving in the first place.
Last question, guys.
Mark, back to the Bills for a moment. It's an NFL decision. Have you been in discussion with the NFL at all?
No, I don't. I haven't had time to talk to the NFL. I've said this all along. The NFL is a business. It's as simple as that, folks. The NFL is a business. And if the NFL is trying to push the Bills, and I don't think the Bills are trying to push, I think if the NFL is trying to push the Bills to hold a football game while we're in the middle of an emergency, shame on the NFL. Simple as that. We are in a major emergency. We've had 8 deaths. We still might have people in their vehicles. We have roofs collapsing. We were just touring a facility where there were a couple hundred patients at a nursing home, and there was 7 feet of snow with another 2 to 3 feet potential on a flat roof of a nursing home. If the NFL is pushing this game to be held, shame on the NFL.